What do these executive orders unlock for the nuclear energy industry overall and for Valar specifically?
Well, Kailey and Joe, thank you so much for having me. I think that this is a really monumental day in the history of nuclear energy. For a long time, nuclear policy in the United States has been focused on raising barriers and raising walls. And originally, this doctrine came from the fact that the United States started off with a massive moat in nuclear energy. We were the only country that was able to build nuclear at scale. And so we wanted to protect that advantage. But over time, Russia and China have actually become better at building nuclear reactors than us. Our rivals are actually now significantly exceeding us in nuclear capacity. And so it's time for a new day in nuclear. It's time for a new tranche of policy. And essentially what this new shift is trending towards is nuclear dominance, right? Nuclear security is now nuclear dominance. We need to make it possible to build nuclear in the United States again. We need to make innovation possible. American entrepreneurs have to be able to go out, test new nuclear designs like we were doing in the 60s and 70s, and build plants all over the United States.
You're going to be activating a nuclear test reactor at the San Rafael Energy Lab in Utah, which is why we have Governor Cox with us in part. Governor, I'd love for your input on all of this, because it's not just what Valar is doing. We also had an announcement today from the White House to greenlight the Velvetwood uranium and vanadium mine in San Juan County, Utah, under an accelerated environmental review process. What does this all mean for jobs and infrastructure in your state?
Well, it's great news for Utah. Thanks for having me on. And everything Isaiah said is exactly right. We made some really poor choices that stopped us from being the dominant nuclear power in the world when it comes to energy production. When I was born 50 years ago, during the 60s and 70s, we'd built 130 nuclear facilities in this country. We've only built 2 of those in my lifetime. And so we've lost that edge. Now we have an administration that understands it. And Utah has played a key role in critical minerals when it comes to uranium and others. We are ready to start building nuclear in Utah. The holdup has been the federal government. That's been the bottleneck. We launched Operation Gigawatt a year ago, understanding that this is about national security and about helping our citizens pay less for power. We are in an arms race right now. It's an AI arms race with China and with Russia, and we're losing that. If we don't get nuclear right, we're in trouble. We're well positioned to do that. It's going to create jobs. It's going to create clean energy and cheap energy for the people of the United States, and we couldn't be more excited to be a major player in this industry.
Well, as the governor talks about bottlenecks being created by the federal government for having the kind of regulatory red tape in place, if you will, does that not exist, though, in part for a reason, given the kind of volatile nature of this kind of energy source in particular? Is there no risk here around pulling back deregulation too quickly?
Nuclear energy is absolutely a technology that needs safeguards around it. It's a technology like many others, like the chemical industry, that has to have regulation. But one of the most important things that you can do to make sure that an industry is safe is to do it often, right? You do well what you do often. If you're regularly building nuclear power plants, iterating, innovating, you're actually able to build safer and safer nuclear over time. And unfortunately, the regulatory environment in the United States has actually militated against this, right? We've added so much red tape that innovation becomes impossible. As an example, we're announcing today that we have this partnership with the government of Utah to turn on a test reactor. President Trump gave us this incredible mandate: turn on an advanced reactor in the United States by July 4th, 2026, America's 250th birthday. One of the big reasons for this is that this class of advanced reactors is much safer than the reactors that we were building in the 60s and 70s. But we haven't been able to build one yet. There has been no advanced reactor turned on U.S. soil ever. China's turned one on, Russia's turned one on, and the situation that we're looking at is that they're going to have safer nuclear than we are because we can't build anything. So I'm extremely grateful to Governor Cox. He's been really leading the charge on technology innovation in nuclear and other categories. I think, Governor, you've been talking with my friend Augustus at Rainmaker, who's making it rain in the great state of Utah. There's all these technologies that China is really running ahead with and that we have to bring into the United States as well if we want to stay competitive.
Well, we know you're trying to do something different, co-locating thousands of small reactors into these massive gigasites, as you call them, to produce what you describe as cheaper than oil, carbon-neutral synthetic fuels. Governor, how soon will you cut the ribbon on a new gigasite in Utah if they're cutting the red tape to make that happen?
Yeah, well, we hope very, very soon. Now, again, safety is paramount, and we can do this. The technology is there. As Isaiah mentioned, one of the problems is the people who were best at doing this are aging out. I mean, the experts in the 60s and 70s all had to go to France and other countries where they've been building this, and we've lost a lot of that workforce here in Utah. So we're getting people ready. We've got these incredible companies like Valar that are doing the work. We want to turn on one of those test facilities by next year. I mean, that's what the president has asked for. It's absolutely possible that we can do that. But then there are other steps we have to go through to make the manufacturing happen. So this isn't going to happen overnight, but over the next 5 to 10 years, we should be deploying. Our goal is by when the Winter Olympics come back to Utah in 2034, that we will have operational nuclear reactors, lots of them from Valar and others, right here in the state of Utah and all across the country.
And Governor, finally, as we consider time horizons here, knowing that this administration has kind of talked about its economic policy as being multi-layered, one being this kind of unleashing all sorts of energy, a broad deregulation effort, another being tax cuts that could be implemented if all goes well in Congress, but also tariff policy. And I wonder for the state of Utah, if you are expecting to feel some of the negative impact of policies like tariffs before you can reap the benefit of deregulation and lower taxes potentially.
Sure. Well, there's certainly some give and take on all of these different issues that we're working on, trying to strengthen the economy and build American dominance again. And I appreciate the president's focus on that. Certainly, we're concerned about the uncertainty around tariffs. As somebody who ran a business, I can tell you that you need certainty to make those decisions and to make those investments. And we've expressed that to the administration. I saw the interview with Bessent earlier talking about the need for that and getting these deals done quickly. We're grateful for the deal with the UK. The UK is one of our major trading partners, in fact, #1 trading partner. We want deals with Canada and Mexico because those are very important for us as well. China is always important, but and we can do that. We're headed in the right direction. If we can get those nailed down, we're seeing the markets recover, we'll be okay.